It is Radha Sunkale. She will be joining us now. She is an undergraduate student of philosophy in Mumbai, India. She is eager to learn and incorporate philosophies in practical life. She is proficient in Japanese language and wants to explore Japanese philosophy. She is fond of learning new languages, cooking, and fitness. And her topic will be exploring Ikigai and Kaisen philosophies through the lens of logic-based therapy and career counseling. When you are ready, please, if you can just unmute your mic.
Yes, I hope I'm audible and I would be sharing my screen now. So, yeah, I hope this is visible too. Yeah. So, a very good morning to everyone here. This is my first time presenting in the NPCA conference. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to Dr. Cohen, Dr. Samuel, and everyone who was the part of this process. Um, I'm also grateful to Dr. Himani ma'am, who has been a really great mentor for guiding me throughout the project. Yeah, so all in all, I want to start it with this background that since I've been learning Japanese for the past 4 years, I had a lot of interest in how they think. So initially, I started learning about their thought process, and I came across two philosophies. One is Kaizen and one is Ikigai. You might have heard them in the context of well-being, as Ikigai is a book, it is a very famous self-help book. So I wanted to reinvent those philosophies with the help of career counseling and the logic-based therapy with along with his six-step approach. So yeah, I want to start with an introduction of the need and reality of career counseling in India. So in India, I don't know how many of you are aware, but uh, the reality, I don't want to be pessimistic here, but the reality is really not a good picture. Many people are misinterpreting career counseling as just giving decisions or making choices for the client. But ideally, career counseling in an ideal sense should be the fact that you should be able to guide them to the right choice. So, as Socrates said, that an unexamined life is not worth living. So, I think while making a career choice, it is important that we examine our thoughts, our beliefs, take care of the fallacious thinking and replace it with something more rational. And I think the clarity of thoughts is still somewhere missing. And this reality of career counseling in India has affected a lot of individuals. I also circulated a survey of I took a survey of 75 to 80 individuals of India from the age group of 24 to 35 young adults. So the results I found were also similar, that they were unsatisfied by the overall approach to career counseling and some things that they could have done differently and would have still uh, excelled in their choices. So because of this manipulation of career counselors and practitioners that they are imposing their thoughts on clients, it obviously encourages bandwagon thinking and manipulation as the two main fallacies. And I think Kaizen and Ikigai, the two Japanese philosophies, can really encourage more introspection that will bring out the virtue of authenticity in the clients even more. And the more problematic thing I feel is it ignores the capacities and talents of the individuals as well. So if the person has a capacity to become a great teacher, then they might be forced into some desk job, and it will completely like their authenticity and their talents would completely go for a toss. So I think that career counselors essentially have to shift their perspective and not manipulate their clients. So I think that the goal of this project is basically to make the career counselors aware, as well as the clients aware that they are being manipulated and how they can choose a particular counselor as their best fit. So yeah, these are the outcomes of the survey. So as you can see in the numerical data here, that about 38 to 40% of the individuals were not satisfied with the jobs. So this is a picture not only common in India, but I've seen many employee wellness surveys abroad as well. And they also show a similar picture. So I think this really points out the need for career counseling. And I also kind of measured some qualitative responses, which are given in the box on the left. So individuals wanted to explore more about themselves, like what they exactly want and how they can go about their career path. So I think that LBT can be a good way, so that whenever individuals introspect about their choices, the counselor can refute the fallacies then and there and can suggest more effective ways to make decisions and encourage rational thinking rather than just going on the herd mentality. I have also got some factors as to what individuals think about when they make a career decision. So as you see, I was also happy seeing that they mostly chose their careers over liking or passion, but there are also percentages where they have chosen it for being a conventional field or like fulfilling their parents' demands or expectations. So I think if this is the case, then they are committing several fallacies, and these needs to be addressed, and they need to be guided as to how to make better decisions. So these are the certain fallacies that I had observed from the survey I conducted, and also to the people I talked about career counseling and what all factors did they consider. So first was jumping on the bandwagon. As we know that it completely loses the authenticity of the individual. Um, and it kind of is also about herd mentality. So it is a common practice to go by herd mentality among teenagers, among young adults, looking that people around me of my age are picking certain careers that uh, they want, and I should also hence pick those careers. So they are also teenagers and young adults are also easily manipulated by parental expectations and demands, which is really common in India and in Asian societies, which are more collectivistic in nature. So I think LBT can help address these fallacies better. Then oversimplifying reality has an aspect of pigeonholing. And I think individuals view success or success in career as just through reputation of the job or title of the job. So if you could see the survey here, it also shows that the demand of the field is a prominent factor considered. So they might associate it with success and believe that this is only how I can get success in my career. So this is also a way of oversimplifying the reality. And another fallacies that may occur after making a wrong career decision is constipation, damnation, dutiful worrying, as we are all aware. They might lock themselves up thinking that they can no more get out of the wrong choices that they have made. So it is also important as a counselor to make them understand that they can still, uh, while respecting their personal responsibilities, can make a shift in career and offer them better career choices, more informed, more rational career choices that are more aligned to their talents. So I wanted the objective being I wanted young adults and adolescents to properly introspect and then navigate their paths to career to avoid the regret or remorse they may face in the future. And also find counselors that fulfill the needs that they find, and finding counselors that do not manipulate them or do not decide the career for them. There are also several scams happening, not only in India, but also around the world about career counseling. So, several career counselors often have certain tie-ups with some other companies or uh, institutions that offer them courses, and they pay money for that. So, they encourage the students to join that particular course, even though they might not have the talent for it, or they might not even want to do it for that matter. So all these things kind of kill the individuality and authenticity of the people who really want to build a genuine career. So I would go ahead to the philosophies that I wanted to introduce. So first is Kaizen philosophy. Kaizen, you might have heard it in the context of management or management studies. It is a principle of continuous improvement, but I wanted to incorporate it in the form of philosophical counseling in the way that it can give a path to the clients to think on how they can proceed. So it gives a 7W concept, which includes what, who, why, how, when, where, and why. So these 7 Ws can help clients navigate, but while they are thinking on these lines, they also need a counselor to support uh, and kind of help them navigate these 7 Ws with the help of more informed and rational ways to make decisions instead of getting lost or committing certain fallacies. So LBT's 6-step approach, I think, can help uh, along with the Kaizen philosophy. The second point of Kaizen philosophy is the 7 Mu. I'm sorry, there's a mistake. It is 3 Mu. So there is Muda, Mura, and Muri. So Muda is waste. Waste in the sense that wasting the time in uh, too much thoughts that are not really useful, or getting lost in the way of uh, or getting manipulated. So all of these are wasted time and wasted opportunities that one can eliminate while making a career decision. Then is Mura. Mura is getting deviated from the path, and Muri is impossible. So Muri is kind of like the fallacy of constipation, and philosophers can help them understand that what they actually do not have the talent to do, and can eliminate with the help of Muri principle, which will be elaborated in the research paper further. But uh, philosophers can help them navigate how they can actually differentiate what they can actually do and what they cannot. So it can reduce the overall anxiety of constipation and other fallacies. So the next is Ikigai. Ikigai is a very popular philosophy. Even it is practiced now in Japan. There's a famous island in Okinawa, Japan, that where many centenarians still live, and they live so long because of the practice of this philosophy. So this philosophy was introduced by Hector and Francis in their book Ikigai. The book mostly talks about longevity and includes certain physical well-being aspects as well, but my approach here is purely a philosophical one. So since Japan was a collectivist society, this ikigai as a word was introduced as being a part of the society and having certain societal standards ticked off. So getting a good job or having a family. But now that its collectivism is kind of turning more towards individualistic society because of American influences and Western countries and their influences, um, it has become more of individual dreams about their future. So Ikigai is basically something that will make you get up off your bed every morning. It is something that keeps you going. It is a never dying spirit to achieve something. I think career counselors can reinforce this feeling of Ikigai through several techniques mentioned in the book, as well as you can see a diagram below this slide, which shows how one can navigate the career path. So it is really practical in today's sense, since it also includes how you can make money out of the career, what you're good at. So it is kind of a combination of everything that you might need in a perfect career. So I think these both philosophies can really help individuals to make better career choices, and even philosophical counselors to guide them using these action plans or behavioral plans to avoid fallacies and focus on making a good career. Uh, so the purpose of this project is to combine the Japanese wisdom of living a good life and LBT to help clients take well-informed decisions and to stimulate thoughts in the counselors, to suggest exercises for the clients to practice introspection using these techniques and to avoid fallacious patterns. That is it for the presentation. I am open to questions.
Thank you so much, Radha. We can begin a Q&A if you can just unmute um, whenever you're ready.
So can I come in?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the paper. If we need to apply philosophy for career counseling or
Yeah.
philosophical practice for career counseling,
Yes.
should we know the boundaries of philosophical counseling and psychological counseling already defined, or will it become a confusion of both?
Mm, I couldn't hear you properly, but if I could just rephrase your question, is it that you want to know whether philosophical counseling and psychological counseling would be confused when it comes to career counseling? Is that what your question is?
No, should we need a clear boundary? We define the boundaries of philosophical counseling and psychological counseling. And is career counseling is same as philosophical counseling, or career counseling something specific to job orientation?
All right. Thank you for the question. So I think philosophical counseling is different. Career counseling is more domain specific as opposed to philosophical counseling. Philosophical counseling obviously has several approaches and several problems that it deals with, whereas career counseling deals with kind of a narrow problem, only one specific problem of choosing or making informed decisions, or if they want to change decisions in their future. And psychological counseling, of course, differs from philosophical counseling due to its entire approach, uh, like which also includes diagnosis to a certain extent. So, yeah.
What is much more relevant in Indian context in education institutions? Is it philosophical counseling or psychological counseling? In your view?
Mhm. Okay, that's a little tricky because in India also, because of the vast land area, we cannot really generalize it to the entire population. But
Let us stick to Bombay itself. Your own.
okay, all right, yeah. So I think people in Mumbai are more open to philosophical counseling as the awareness about philosophy is increasing here. But overall in India, the dominance of psychology has been there since the 1900s, and aptitude testing or such methods are really given more prominence in India, and people do not have the awareness that the career counselors who might want to like manipulate their clients may even fake aptitude test, or like even aptitude test may not be the uh, truest like depiction of your talents, I think. So yeah, I think people really respect psychological tests and diagnosis more than philosophical counseling, but the picture is changing slowly as the awareness is increasing.
No, I'm much more concerned. Sorry. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
what is the present status, for example, in Mumbai or other institutions? How many psychological counselors are there in colleges for a strength of 2,000? How many psychological counselors does your college has, for example?
Yeah. Um, as far as I am aware, not many colleges have psychological counselors. Um, so I think there is a need for psychological counselors firstly. But in terms of career counseling, principally, there are very few colleges that offer like well-informed guidance and personal mentoring to students. So in my college, there are around, I think, 3 to 4 counselors, and they have their appointments scheduled alternatively.
Oh, that is much better. I'm surprised if your college has 4 vacancies for psychological counselor. But I see many
Yeah.
of the colleges in India hardly there's one counselor, and sometimes he or she is not employed at all. I mean, nobody comes goes there. So my
True.
observation is that the so-called psychological counseling is not successful when you look at from the student's perspective. What
Hmm.
students want is something much more than that. And my claim is that philosophical counseling in colleges and higher education will do a better job than a psychological counselor. Nothing against psychological counselor per se, but and
Yeah.
therefore one should define clearly what psychological counseling can do to the students in the colleges, as well as what philosophical counselor can do to the students in colleges. I think when that happens, I think philosophical counseling as a profession can evolve, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is also more need-based. So if need comes, in my college especially, if many people are willing to take up counseling, then they approach counselors. But if need may not be, then they might not even be employed. So I think the mindset and taboo also plays a very important role in India.
Yeah, I think you have an important point there, and that's that when people think that they're going to be diagnosed and analyzed from a psychological perspective, it's intimidating, more intimidating than if, they're going to talk about philosophy and not be so diagnosed. And so it's more likely to encourage students to seek counseling, career counseling. And I wanted to comment on what you did. You did empirical studies effectively. What you did was you looked at you took a survey of individuals, who have processes that are filled with fallacies about their careers and what sort of careers to choose and bandwagoning and constipation. I can't do what I want to do. I have to do this rather than that because otherwise I won't be successful. And the assumptions that, the oversimplifications and so forth that you brought in. I thought that was incredibly valuable, that kind of research that you did. And furthermore, you showed that there's philosophical ideas that can address those irrational thinking patterns, and that those who are equipped, philosophical practitioners, to identify the irrational thinking and to find suitable, congenial, uplifting philosophies, and you've given two examples, to help students to actually overcome those fallacies could be incredibly useful for them choosing the careers that that exemplify that apply their talents and allow them to be happy. And so I think this is just the idea alone of bringing philosophical practice into career counseling and the way it could be useful is very, 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 very good, very helpful. And you're to be commended, I think, very much so for that. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I think there's a question in the chat. Okay. How do you avoid indoctrination so this intervention doesn't become just a lesson on Kaizen and Ikigai? What are some measures taken to encourage philosophical thinking? Okay. I initially, when I started doing this project, I was thinking that this might become a lesson. But when we think of a philosopher's perspective or a counselor's perspective, uh, the way that they can intervene, not for it to become a lesson, is by giving behavioral plans. So as I had shown the diagram of Ikigai, so maybe they can just put a diagram in front of the client and say that they can fill in those gaps in the Venn diagram, so they get more clarity of thought. So they do not necessarily learn the intricate details or technicalities of those philosophies, but they can look at it in a more application-based perspective. I hope it answers the question.
Hi, Radha. I just want to add something to what you just mentioned. I think even if there was some philosophical education, I think that would be positive because in psychology we have psychoeducation where we talk to the client about that just to really, I guess, like inform like the context and how to move forward. So I think even philosophical education, I don't know if that's in our lexicon, but I think that would be like appropriate as well. And I think a way to start almost any conversation with anyone that comes to us with any matter. And I also wanted to say that I found your presentation very thoughtful and great for the times that we're living in. I saw that the New York Times released on like 2 weeks ago a diagram of how the GDP in the US has gone from first to second, but in everything else it has decreased. For example, life expectancy is not great. Also, the prevalence of depression has increased significantly, and the trust in government and policies. So I think that sometimes we think that the solution to our problems are our finances, and maybe that is tied to career, and perhaps that there are fallacies in there. And I really liked the diagram on Ikigai. Is that how you pronounce it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Ikigai.
Ikigai. I really liked how that diagram had so many themes that overlapped, and I wanted to ask you if you can talk a little bit more about the Kaizen continuous improvement and what is, I guess, like the philosophy behind that, and what does um, under the umbrella of continuous improvement, what falls under there? Like what are the main themes to focus on to improve?
Okay. So Kaizen is, as I mentioned, was a business philosophy initially. So it has been looked at from that perspective of continuous improvement in the sense of product development or developing one's organization. But I think it can be looked at the perspective from at a more thought level. So improving our thought process continuously, making sure that whatever we want to achieve is in accordance with the values that we have, or the goals that we want to achieve are in accordance with, are more realistic and in accordance with reality. So I think improvement in the sense of thoughts, being more open and not getting manipulated by counselors or anyone around us, continuously improving one's rational outlook to making decisions, improving introspection, I think is even more important when it comes to career counseling. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And I would also like to thank Deborah for adding in the philosophical education aspect, and I would really think about it and would like to add or do something related to it, definitely. Thank you.
We have about 10 minutes left. So if anyone has any other questions.
I was reflecting about this difference between the psychological and the philosophical approach to career counseling. And I remember from my experience, I got this when I was in university. It was something in between, I think, but these were the things that I was asked to go through. Something that explored my personality, my set of skills at the time, what I was capable of doing in terms of skills, my interests, my values, my motivations, and my previous experiences. And the one question for which I was not ready, because everything else I knew, I could just look in my past and or in the test results and so forth. But the one question that was the hardest for me to answer was what I want to do with my life. Because this set of skills and everything, they could open up a path to various types of careers. They said things like, well, with this set of skills, values, and interests, you could go there, or there, but it's very hard to make a choice. And the hardship of making that choice is because of the fear of missing out, fear of choosing the wrong path. What if I will regret this later? So a lot of philosophical questions actually about existential issues. What's the purpose? You know, if I choose this, will I ever be able to go back from it if it doesn't fulfill me? What if I encounter things like that I haven't expected, like too much work overload? So I became a psychotherapist and I regretted it like 12 years later. I wanted to go towards counseling. But it was nevertheless an interesting experience. So I think to ask you maybe to elaborate a bit on this using of Ikigai and other instruments. Can they help a person sort of philosophically reflect about the meaning of their life and the purpose of their life, if it's one or several, how to handle the fact that they take a path and that's it. They got one life and they made a choice, and yeah.
Okay, so thank you for the input. First of all, it is a good perspective to look at Ikigai. And I think philosophically, when I was reading the Ikigai book, there was a mention of this old man, a centenarian who was living in Okinawa, who also followed his own philosophy of life. And he earlier was, I think he was a retired salesman and also wanted to do gardening. So these are completely two different fields of interests. And after he retired, he did gardening and he continued even after the age of 100. So I think that is something really commendable. And uh, these two approaches, like being in two different, completely different fields, um, are the dilemmas that mainly young generations face a lot, right? anywhere around the world, not just limited to India. So I think they can find ways to sort of navigate. So they can introspect more using the Ikigai diagram, where their vocation and their interests and money making work together. And on the other hand, their hobbies can also give them some recreational pleasure. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the difficulties. So the part about the difficulties inherent to a job, I think were not properly addressed. And I'm not sure if the Ikigai model contains anything about what kind of problems do you want to handle in life. Because, for example, if you go for a psychotherapy, you're gonna have some sleepless nights, for example, when you don't know if you've done worse or better for your client. Whereas if you sell flowers, that's gonna be more happier, but maybe you get bored. So each choice has a set of difficulties that we don't think about choosing them, but they come with the package. So does Ikigai have a part about that, about choosing your difficulties?
No, I think both of those philosophies have some limitations as far as uh, how much of the consequences they can, uh, you know, introspect about. So I think both of these philosophies are kind of long lost. So we do not have the full entire concepts from those philosophies. All we have is bits and pieces. So I think if we have another philosophy to support it, it would be better. Something from the consequentialism aspect, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I think your question was really interesting. Thank you for that.
Thank you as well.
And Radha, I want to ask you, what do you think about, thinking about career counseling in different parts um, of your life, not just right out of high school or not just in college, but I think nowadays it's like we have to have different hats, and some of us have like two, three careers at once, and that's totally okay too, and shifting and changing. I would like to know what your thoughts on that are.
Um, I would just like to clarify as what you want to ask exactly. So do you want to ask purely about the philosophical thinking or just my approach to it?
Just your approach, I guess. Having someone come in for philosophical counseling regarding career at the age of, let's say, 55 versus someone coming in at the age of 23.
Okay, so as India and Asian cultures have a collective approach to every aspect of life, career is also one part of it. So if you are 55, then you might have already tons of responsibilities at home. But suppose you are younger or in the young adult phase, then you might have lesser responsibilities. So it is sort of multifaceted as far as career is concerned. So there are so many factors that need to be considered. That whether I have to financially support anyone in my family, or is it just me who is going to face the consequences of the changed or the shift in career. So there are so many factors. And as someone who is thinking of a career shift, I believe that you have to take into consideration all these factors. And uh, I read recently of this article by Julie Smith, who is a very famous psychologist. So she also said that you cannot fulfill every single thing of your life, every single aspect of your life. So if you're thinking of a career shift, then there might be cases that you lose up on some of your friends, or you might not catch up well with them. So, or you might end up giving less time to your family because of the changes in the career or education at a later stage of life. So I think considering all these factors and then making a choice would be the most recommended path.
refund on that. Yeah. Okay. Make sure that, I mean, I'm gonna get a refund. Every time I call.
I'm going to read a response that Kuma put in the chat in response
yeah,
to
sure.
Anka's question, and they say it is asking you to review what the world needs and your skills, etc. So it does tell us in changing times and with changing selves, our abilities, aspirations, personalities, how we still pick a choice or vocation by striking a balance of all those changing factors.
Yeah, I totally agree with her. Yes, that is exactly how the philosophies are. Thank you for the input. Yeah, would you want to read it?
Oh, yes, they say that this kind of philosophical education indoctrination risks taking away the reflection from the client to think whether they really need to strike the balance in such a way.
I didn't quite understand their question.
Oh, I think they're responding to Anka's question.
Oh, all right. All right.
Thank you so much, Radha, for your presentation.
Thank you.
I believe